Speaking of humanizing characters, we're going to move to another tower denizen that we all love, Lord Shaxx.
Lord Shaxx.
This is Survivor's Epitaph, the Crucible hand cannon for this season. A weapon hides nothing. It is what it is, whether it wants to be or not. Saint 14 to Lord Shaxx. To be the first Elixni to bask in the presence of the Traveler since the Whirlwind was an honor that Mithrax, Kell of House Light, never imagined for himself. As he stood on the tower walkway below the scar left in the wake of the Almighty, he meditated on the choices in his life that had led to this point. He wondered if there was a unifying thread binding all these events together, but he would have no time to ponder such things. A shadow crept over Mithrax, broad shoulders and a curling horn. Seeing the stark outline of Lord Shaxx looming on the stairs elicited centuries-old instincts, and it was temperance that kept Mithrax's hands from his weapon. "I didn't expect to actually find you here," Shaxx said as he continued down the stairs with slow, plodding steps. "Were you there?" "What?" Shaxx came to stand beside Mithrax at the railing. "Were you there?" he asked again. This time he pointed without looking to a place on the horizon beyond the Traveler. Mithrax followed Shaxx's gesture with his eyes. He did not understand. "The Battle of Six Fronts," Shaxx insisted with uncharacteristic softness. "Do you know how many fallen I killed there?" Mithrax bristled at the question, and he felt the instinctual urge to reach for his weapon again, but the presence of the Traveler and the question that nagged at the back of his mind stayed his hands. "How many?" he asked, not wanting to know the answer. Shaxx deflated, folding his arms over the rail, and rested his considerable weight against it. "Hundreds," he said quietly. "All of them died afraid." Mithrax felt ether mixing with bile in the back of his throat. His limbs trembled. Rage burned in his gut, demanding manifestation. But he tempered his anger, sighed so deep that the ether on his breath was briefly visible as an iridescent cloud. "How many humans have you killed?" Shaxx wondered. "Too many," Mithrax answered, and even that felt insufficient on his tongue. The thought of it twisted his insides around. He sighed again, deeper this time, and Shaxx watched the sublimated ether glitter in the dim light. "When I heard you were in the tower," Shaxx said, "I thought I'd just throw you over the edge of the wall. I thought about the people I watched die at the hands of your houses over the years, the lightless torn limb from limb during the Dark Age." He snorted out a rueful laugh. "Then I started to think about them." Silence hung in the air for a moment, long enough for Mithrax to ask, "Who?" 3 scavengers, huddled together in a collapsed storm drain. They had stolen food during a time of famine. Maybe it was for themselves, maybe another settlement, maybe family, Shaxx shrugged. "I killed them, all 3 with my bare hands." "My victims were humans," Shaxx clarified, and the Kell felt his anger twist into confusion. "I was a warlord in the Dark Age, convinced myself of the necessity of my own barbarism by painting it with noble colors. Those loyal to me built a legend that masked the blood and the rot, but it's still there." He tapped his fingers against his breastplate. "Deep down. The shadows become long stars, now visible in the sky, and the Traveler was cast in half shadow." "There is a ship," Mithrax eventually replied. "It may have been soldiers, civilians, I do not know." He looked away from the Traveler as he spoke. "I led a boarding party onto it. You slaughtered any who resisted and rounded up those who surrendered." Shaxx turned to look at Mithrax, a wordless question in his faceless mask. "We argued what to do with the prisoners. Some suggested we keep them as warning trophies. Others said to barter with them." Mithrax looked away, shoulders sagged. "But I was young and impatient." He closed his eyes. "I opened the airlock. It seemed the simplest solution." Both soldiers sank into silence again and remained so as the last glimpse of sunlight descended beyond the horizon. Shaxx sullenly took his leave, and Mithrax was left with the remnants of anger and confusion, and paradoxically an answer. He saw then the thread of choices leading to this moment, the choices that led to the great machine and away from a fate like Aramis had suffered. It was something both he and Shaxx learned to accept in spite of a lifetime of experience telling them otherwise. Mercy. This is one of the most somber lore pieces I think that I've read in a very long time in this game. That's not directly in a lore book. That's simply for a weapon that you can pick up.
Yeah.
We talk about humanizing these characters, and Shaxx is a character that I've routinely criticized the narrative team for not doing enough with. He never had a hand in the seasonal events. He did nothing in the Red War. Like, Lord fucking Shaxx did nothing in the Red War. Let that sink in for a minute.
Yeah. I mean, like, for everything you hear about Shaxx and, like, you know, like Twilight Gap and Six Fronts and all these things that, and even, like, what you just read, he's a warlord of legend. And, like, I don't even think in Destiny 1 he really did anything.
No. This is the curse of having, if I can deviate from the lore for a second, this is the curse of having celebrity actors voice your characters. Shaxx is voiced by Lenny James. For those of you who don't know who Lenny James is, Lenny James was Morgan on The Walking Dead. When he was cast as Shaxx, Morgan had only been a guest star on The Walking Dead. He wasn't yet a main cast member. He'd only been in the pilot and in one other episode in season 3. He becomes a main character, right? He became a main character maybe a year before Destiny 2 came out, during Rise of Iron, I think. And continued on that, and then Fear the Walking Dead. And he's done a lot of other things since. Gina Torres was quietly recast this season. She still voices Ikora in some of the cutscenes, but it's very clearly not her talking in the missions or in the tower, etc.
You can tell when they, like, when she patches in through the ghost with a little bit of the filter on it, kind of masks it, but you can totally tell.
And I think you're going to be better for it. I think the voice matches Ikora a little bit better.
Yeah.
It's the same change as like with Anna Bray. It feels a little bit more natural now.
Yeah.
But I think that Shaxx is probably the next one that it's coming for. I think they've realized like it's probably too expensive keeping these people on retain to like never record. When's the last time we got new Shaxx dialogue? Like maybe Forsaken.
Yeah.
He's still saying stuff from the Red War. All reports are saying all hell is broken loose in the EDZ. Yeah. Like, the EDZ needs our help, Guardian. Like, shut the fuck up, Shaxx. I already saved the EDZ like 4 years ago. It's frustrating for a game that like otherwise I think it's really developed considerably in terms of dialogue.
The other thing too is I feel like I know that they had the Activision budget at that point to cast like real actors or whatever, but like, well, not real actors, you know what I mean? Like, but I feel like if you cast
bigger
names, thank you. Yeah. And like, I feel like if you get voice actors who are dedicated to the voice aspect of it and not, you know what I mean? Like, cause they're not signing up for other bigger projects, right? This is what they do. This is their job. Right. And as like a bigger named actor, their job is to go act on TV or in movies or whatever, and then this is like a side gig or something. You know what I mean?
Right. It's becoming increasingly clear that really only 2 of the bigger names ever really took this that seriously, and that is Lance Reddick. And I mean, Lance was woefully underused until about a year ago.
Yeah.
Year and a half ago is when they really started using Lance. It was him and Nathan Fillion were the only ones they really used. And I mean, if you're going to use 2 people, let's be frank.
Yeah,
they're probably the 2 you're going to use. But it's clear Gina Torres probably dipped out a while ago and has just been unable to record dialogue, and that's okay. Like, I don't think any of these actors are really crying over spilled milk. Like, they probably want somebody who can do just as good of a job, but who actually cares about this franchise to do it. Like, there's a difference with Lance versus Gina Torres, and it's not that Gina's a bad actress or anything. Gina's a great actress. I love Gina Torres. It's that Lance plays the game. Lance is involved in the community. He's always retweeting fan art. He puts messages up. He shows videos of him playing. You know, he got involved in all the Guardian game shtick without having to be bribed or paid or anything like that.
Right.
And it was funny, like even Crow and Glint got in on it, which I loved. That was hilarious if you haven't seen that video.
Yeah.
Brendan O'Neill got in on it, and it was pretty great. They did a Zoom call together, both for Hunter motivation and then when the Hunters actually sealed it. And he spoke like all in character. It was great. I enjoyed it. But I think that that's getting to the point where we need to have, when we have stories like this, and we know that Shaxx is being subtly influenced by the Ahamkara skull above him, we're being deprived of some really great storylines, I think, involving Shaxx and Saladin specifically.
And I think that's why, like, they started killing characters off too. Like, I mean, not that it didn't, like, the speaker, right, was Bill Nighy, right?
Yep.
Yeah. Well, you're not going to keep him on retainer, right? He just, he's He's probably got another
Thankfully,
Underworld.
we actually got some stuff with him in Destiny 2.
Yeah. But, you know, we saw it again in Forsaken when Nolan North took over Nathan Fillion because he's went off to do his TV show, right? Like, I mean, we saw that. I mean, I know that's not real. Maybe that's why they killed Cade. I don't know.
I mean, we went from Peter Dinklage to, well, part of it was the cost, but also I think just Nathan Fillion's schedule simply didn't work for them anymore.
Yeah.
That guy was easily the busiest one they had besides Bill Nighy, I think, and even Lenny James. Like, Lenny James has been he was a mainstay on The Walking Dead. He did a few other miniseries where he was in like every episode, and he's done just as long of a stint on Fear the Walking Dead. He's got a show that he's the creator, director, writer, and star of. This is a guy who's super busy, and I think that doing lines for Shaxx is probably in the back of his mind right now.
Yeah.
But I mean, you look at some of these other ones, like, you know, we moved on from Peter Dinklage to Nolan North really quickly, and that was for the best. I love Dinklebot, but Peter Dinklage, I don't think, was going to be in this for 10 years. I don't think he knew that when he signed up for it.
Yeah.
Nor did they anticipate Game of Thrones blowing up the way that it did.
Right.
And, you know, him being this award-winning actor and all this and that. Like, if Game of Thrones doesn't blow up, I suspect Peter Dinklage probably stays with it, and it's probably a whole lot cheaper to keep him.
Yeah.
And again, like you said, they don't have that. They don't have the Activision budget anymore either. You know, you look at some of the others, and it's like it's a lot of people that we know from other voice roles. You know, that some of these more minor characters. Yeah, Courtney Taylor is in it. Moira Quirk. I don't know. There's a lot of Claudia Black is in it. You know, there's a lot of other people.
Yeah.
But that also kind of underscores why our Guardian also doesn't speak very often. You know, how often are you going to get Matt Mercer to come in and record dialogue for the male hunter every season? Right. You're not. Yeah. You're not going to get him in there. You know. You're not going to get. I don't think you're going to get John Benjamin to come in and do the radio. You know, you're not going to get a lot of people like this. Like, that's why they killed Sakharov, Morena Baccarin. They're not paying for Morena Baccarin. Yeah, they recast Anna Bray. Used to be Jamie Chung. They recast her. Yeah. It's not, you know, and it's not. None of this is shocking.
Yeah. No.
It is what it is, for better or for worse.
It makes sense, especially if they're planning on this game going on another 5-10 years at least, right? Like, I mean, you're not going to keep these people around forever.
I mean, it opens up to keep them for if you want to expand it into, like we've said, like an animated series or an anime or something.
Yeah.
You know, into other ones. I mean, God, I would love a live action Destiny short with Lance Reddick and that blue fucking makeup.
I know. Wouldn't that be awesome?
If I don't get Lance Reddick playing a live action Zavala, we have been robbed.
I know.
This is open for nothing.
Look, I wouldn't even mind if they went back to those live action trailers that they did for like original Destiny and Taken King with Lance Reddick.
Okay with that.
Yeah. I think that'd be awesome.